Welcome to Wellington's first webinar of the year. This is our 18-minute webinar, short, sharp, lot of information, all based today on the PMO trends that we're going to see, the conversations that are going to be really important in 2024 for your PMOs. As always, do feel free to pop your questions in the question panel or the chat panel, which you should have access to, and we're going to get straight into it so that we're not keeping you too late from your lunch. So let's get started. We're going to, like I say, talk about some trends. For those of you that don't know who we are, my name is Emma Arnaz-Pemberton. I'm the Director of Consulting Services at Wellington, and I work alongside all the different associations for project management. And at Wellington, I also look after sustainability and corporate social responsibility, and I organise our annual conference, Future PMO. So if you don't know much about us, then that's definitely something to look out for. It's a really cool, fun day that happens every year in London. A little bit about Wellington. Wellington, we're a project management consultancy firm, and our mission is to enable our clients to make a step change in their project management maturity. And we do that through a variety of different things. We are a Microsoft Gold partner, so we deploy Microsoft technology with regards to project management. We do consultancy, so I spend a lot of my time developing and transforming PMOs. And we do training. So as part of our Wellington Academy, and within that we have our PMO Academy, which is dedicated to enhance the capability of PMOs around the world, as you can see. We are based in Windsor here in the UK, but we do also have Wellington, Spain, which is based in Madrid, and Wellington, Ireland, which is based in Dublin. And we also have partners in Latin and South America, just helping us to spread the good PMO message. As I've mentioned, we run conferences, we do regular events through our community, which are free for you to attend. So there's lots of opportunities every month, like this webinar. We also run lots of networking events, as well as our in-person conference and seminars. We do lots of publications and reports. We do annual research on the state of project management and the PMO. So we like to think we have our finger on the pulse, thanks to our network, our PMO hive mind. And that's where a lot of the information you're going to get today has actually come from. So I'm going to summarise a couple of things. First of all, when we talk about maturity and thinking about how we're going to develop over the next year, we need to understand what we mean by PMO maturity. We're also going to have a look at the trends, and I've split them into two kind of separate areas. The first are more technical, so the things that you need to be aware of as a PMO that may be coming down the pipeline, and also people trends, so really thinking about the individuals in the team and within our PMO customer base. And then we'll talk about some of the next steps and how you can find out more information. So let's talk a little bit about what we mean about maturity levels. It's really important for any organisation to, before we start to transform, is to understand the level that we're at the moment. How well are we performing as a PMO versus what is our aspiration? Where do we want to get to? And we need to look at that through a number of different lenses to ensure that that aspiration is realistic and it's going to maximize the value for money of the PMO so that we can actually drive our organization towards the future. Now, in many cases, people are like, well, I need to get to 5. As you can see, there are 5 levels in our model. This is the Wellington model. You can't find it anywhere else. And it's part of the maturity assessment process that we go through with all of our clients. So at level 1, we kind of say at this point there's an awareness of the process. Maybe the organization's starting to recognize projects and run them differently from ongoing business to business as usual, but it might be quite informal and there won't really be any tracking. Quite often organizations at level 1, maybe we've had like a change of leadership and they understand how important project is as a strategic discipline. So maybe we're just even starting the conversations. Once an organisation hits level 2, we say that this is when the PMO is starting to be defined. So this is where we have repeatable processes. We make sure that we're probably for bigger or more strategic projects, we're actually using project management practice to deliver those. And we might have a minimum standard of discipline that we expect to see. But there might be some limited consistency or coordination between those projects and very little actual reporting. At level 3, we call this standardized. This is where everything is now defined, everything's written down, all the project management process is centrally controlled. We've got all the processes, templates, tooling, guidance available there. And we're starting to do some measurement as well, so we can actually understand how our projects are performing versus how they should be performing, what was the plan and what we can do about it. At level 4, we call this the managed PMO. So this is where we're now really seeing consistency in approach, regardless of the nature of the project and the size. And we're really driving that culture of change, really focusing on making sure that we're enabling capabilities throughout the organization. And at this point, we would like to see that the PMO is not only measuring projects, but measuring its own performance, which is quite unusual. And then at level 5, we call this the optimizing PMO. So this is a very mature PMO that now is in a state of what we call continuous improvement. So as opposed to developing brand new ways of working, we're improving the good ways of working that we already have in place. Within that, the organization respects the PMO as a center of competence, as a business partner. And so we're actually helping to develop and make decisions for the future of the company. In terms of people, we would always see a career path at this point, whether that's a graduate or apprenticeship scheme, so that we can actually support people through interest in project management, right through to maybe the APM's chartered project professional accreditation. And like I said, most organizations will then say, well, we need to get to level 5, but actually the majority, when we look at this through a critical eye, a realistic eye, most PMOs that I work with say they'd be happy at a high 3 or a low 4. So when we're really got practice that's consistent, it's repeatable, everybody kind of understands the value of project management and why and how we do it, that's a really happy place that people want to get to. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some of the trends that we're going to see this year that are going to help you to kind of hopefully get to that next level of maturity that you're maybe aspiring to. There are lots of articles and information and white papers on our website all about PMO maturity, some of the things that you can do, practical tips, the benefits of understanding this before you start adopting brand new things and things like that. So as I said, we will send an email after this webinar with some extra reading for you so that you can keep the conversation going internally with your organisation as well as with Wellingtone. So let's have a look at the trends for 2024. A few weeks ago, we ran a networking event with our network, our PMO Hive Mind, and we identified lots of different technical trends that we then validated through the research that's been happening over the last year, and came up with a bunch of trends. These are the more technical ones. So the first one, you've heard it before, it's probably really obvious, artificial intelligence. And we're seeing the rise of this. We're already using it in many cases. We can see ChatGPT is becoming much more popular. They now have a ChatGPT shop as well. There's lots of prompts and guides and help on how to use that kind of artificial intelligence. We might be already using bots within our organization. So it's already here. We need to decide how we can embrace it. And artificial intelligence is a little bit scary because it's like, how do we deal with, you know, the ethical side and the human aspect of what we're trying to do from a PMO perspective, and kind of getting past the conversation of, oh, AI is going to replace PMOs or project managers or whatever it might be, and really understanding what tools do we have available and how can the PMO utilize those to support decisions. So for example, you know, resource, being able to see much further into the future or extrapolate much further into the future what our resources are going to be like, being able to potentially identify risks a little bit earlier so that we can manage them, and as well how and when we can communicate with our organizations. So artificial intelligence can add a lot of value, but it has to be within the context of our reality. Not every organization is ready and waiting for that next step in AI. So really thinking about identifying what have we got, making sure we're going to be using it for the right things right now. It doesn't mean that we're not going to evolve over time, and making sure that part of that is about engagement so that we keep that human side to everything that we're doing as a PMO. Technology comes up time and time again. yes, there's lots of technology out there. We ourselves are a Microsoft Gold partner. What we are finding when we do maturity assessments is that lots of PMOs are kind of fighting against lots of different systems, where we see that different teams have bought different tooling in to do their type of work because there's a perspective that my projects are different to your project, so I need something different to manage them within. So we need to be mindful of that we need to acknowledge that not every project is the same, and think about, is there an opportunity to rationalize the systems? Can we assimilate data into a different place? If we can't change the systems and not everybody has the capacity, the resource, or the budget to, get rid of all these systems and create something new, then can we actually take the data and put it somewhere centralized? So taking the data from all the different systems, but putting it somewhere that we can actually use it. That will help us then to drive consistency. There can be elements in all the different systems that might allow us to compare apples with apples, whereas at the moment we're kind of comparing apples with oranges, which is not really helpful. The next one is around benefits realization and the rising concept of OKRs, objectives and key results. This is a slightly different nuance to the traditional benefits management. It's kind of still giving us that wide vision of what are we trying to achieve with our projects and programs and maybe our PMO transformation or implementation. But OKRs allow us to take more of a step-by-step approach, giving us, also, as well as that global vision, more of a local focus. So it really helps us to sharpen our vision to be able to say, for example, over the next 3 months, what are the objectives and key results that we want to achieve? That's a slight nuance to looking at benefits management and what benefits will we achieve in a year, 18 months time. So OKRs and benefits management coming together is something that is being adopted by organizations. It is going pretty well. We did have somebody at our last Future PMO conference talking about the value of this, and we do have some insights again on our Future PMO website around it. If you're interested in this, we do have next month, February is our OKRs month in terms of our networking and webinar events. So do keep an eye out, register to find out more, and maybe you can join us to find out much more about not just what it is, but how can it add value to your PMO. And the last thing that we wanted to talk about in terms of trends that are coming up is the understanding of the PMO value. Now, I've been around PMO for quite a while, and I've definitely seen the interest, the engagement, and the adoption of PMOs growing significantly. But there are still some discrepancies as to what a PMO actually is and how it's going to deliver value to our organization and our project management practice. So we need to start thinking more about measuring the performance of the PMO itself. Just like we do with our projects, we should be asking, how are we performing? What are we doing that we can improve on? How are we dealing and communicating and building relationships with our customers? And that's going to really help us if we have that mindset to put us in that more of a continuous improvement space where we are always looking for something to be a little bit better. So 4 key technical trends: AI, technology, benefits and OKRs, and also being able to measure the value of the PMO are 4 key things that we are going to see in the conversations. They're already starting in many cases, and certainly with the volunteering that I do, we're already seeing a lot of this kind of bubbling up to the surface. Now let's have a look at people trends, because this is just as important. If we'd asked 15 years ago what are the key skills that we need for good project management and PMO, they were all very technical, whereas now actually everything's much more people focused. So it's definitely gone in the right way, but again, we need to think about how that affects our PMOs and what we're planning to do this year. So first of all, training. My biggest piece of advice is don't assume that everybody knows how to do their role, and that is everybody from practitioners and delivery teams to even the sponsors. We do find that actually sponsors have never been told. It's never been explained to them what the role of a project sponsor is. So as a PMO, our role is to enable capability. So we need to make sure that we are supporting not just the project managers, but also those that are contributing to projects, and those that are leading projects. So really, again, focusing in on that slightly wider perspective of people and their capability, and what we can do as PMOs to really ensure that no matter who the project is impacting, hopefully the experience should be the same or very similar, regardless of the project manager, the program manager, the sponsor, or the people contributing. Everybody should understand and be educated as to what it means to be part of a project. Sustainability is going to be something very key this year. It has been rising in importance over the last years. So we need to make sure that we're looking at sustainability, and we need to look at it through a different lens. I have lots of conversations about sustainability because it's quite hard to think as a team or as an individual, how do we impact this? So it's very well that, you know, maybe our organization has signed up to some sustainable goals, has some key objectives, maybe some metrics around it, but I, as an individual PMO, project manager, project leader, how do I change the conversation? And that's really what we need to do. And one of the really interesting pieces of advice that I got when kind of starting to research all of this was around responsible project management and responsible PMO practice. And the reality is, when it comes to sustainability, you're already probably doing quite a lot of it, maybe more in your personal life, because there are things that drive us towards that. So we're probably all recycling, we're probably all buying less single-use items, we're probably buying more things that are compostable, we're probably, you know, driving less, or, you know, doing things in a slightly more sustainable way. And the key is to change the conversation to understand, how do we do project management and PMO in a responsible way? We're not going to fundamentally change the conversation in our entire conversation necessarily. Some PMOs will, but most won't. So it's about understanding, what can we do differently? What are the small things that we can do that are going to add up? And sometimes that's about the materials maybe that we use. You know, if we're printing things, are we using the right kind of materials? Are we making the right choice from a sustainable perspective? Are we encouraging our project teams to think about sustainability when they are planning and developing their project approach? So change the conversation and thinking less sustainability, because that's a big scary word, and more about, are we being responsible in the ways that we can be, and taking kind of the pressure off us as individuals. The next one is around your customers. So your PMO is a service provider. So we need to identify who our customers are. We need to treat them like customers, and we need to understand their experience and their journey. And we do have a video from Future PMO last year, where I actually talked about customer experience as something that I believe could be the missing layer in a lot of PMOs. So do go back and watch or listen to that video. And understand the importance of taking this step, really acknowledging the service provider, that servant leadership relationship almost, and taking your customers through a positive journey as they engage with PMO. And then the last one is about confidence and trust. The new work economy, there is a lot more trust between employee and employer, and we need to bring that into our PMOs. So ensuring that we can provide confidence to our leadership around are we doing the right projects? Do we have a balanced portfolio? Are we tracking the right things? Are we looking at the impact and the OKRs? Are we making the right choices from a sustainability perspective? So maybe taking a pragmatic look at audit and assurance. What are the assurance activities that we are doing right now? Could they be tweaked to work better in 2024? Collaborating more. We have a webinar coming up in the future around the importance of collaboration, especially if we're still working in a dispersed way. It's going to be really important to make people feel like they're part of the journey. And with that will come community. If you haven't already, build a community of practice within your organizations. That's going to help you to bring people together, be that integrator of knowledge and experience and learning opportunities, and really hopefully going to help you to ask different types of questions, take a different perspective. So 4 people trends: training, sustainability, customers, and confidence are going to be key to the conversations in your PMOs if we're trying to attain that next level of maturity. So in terms of what you can do to learn more about all of this, so first of all, if you haven't already joined our Wellington community, you're here, so I'm assuming that maybe you already have done that. And also make sure that you sign up to our next events. Like I said, February, we have another event coming up this month, which is all about kind of building PMO services. So if you're looking at that, building the right journey for your customers, that's going to be a really interesting one for you to join. In February, we've got OKRs month, so it's going to be all about benefits, objectives, key results. We do have a special guest coming in to talk about all that, so do sign up to our next events. And we do have a lot of on-demand videos as well. So like I said, we have published some future PMO full talks. So it's not just a snippet, it's not just the key takeaways, it's the whole like kind of half-an-hour talks. So if that's going to give you hopefully some really good insights, as well as lots of other videos that you'll see on there. And get involved with the Wellington Academy. If whether you're new to PMO or you have been in PMO for a while, our Wellington Academy is there to kind of grow capability within the industry and really put PMO at the forefront of project management as a strategic discipline. So do get involved with us, do get in touch if you wanted to find out more. And as I said earlier, stay in touch with Wellington. You need to keep the conversation going. Part of a lot of this is about keeping that momentum going when we maybe get inspired by something new. So keep the conversation going, both internally and with Wellington, because we can help with that. If you're part of our community, there are lots of learning and sharing opportunities. You have access to your doctor, to the Dr. PMO clinic, where you can have half an hour free of our time just to kind of bounce an idea off or something like that. Okay, I'm going to finish off there, but I'm going to hand back. So I want to say thank you very much, everybody, for joining. I know you're all probably very busy, having just come back from holidays, and hopefully we will see you at the next event. But thank you for joining, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you.